Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here. So today I'm going to bring you my review for Joker. So going into this movie, I was insanely excited. Joker is one of, if not my favorite comic book villains of all time. It's just one of the most memorable villains out there, and he's been played by many different actors in the past. Back in 1989, in the Tim Burton Batman film, we had Jack Nicholson play a very good comic book accurate version of the Joker. Then in 2008, we had Heath Ledger, who I don't even really think I have to say anything. Heath Ledger just knocked it out of the park in that role. One of the best performances of all time, in my opinion. He got an Oscar for it that was truly deserved. He was great in that movie. We had Jared Leto in Suicide Squad.
I don't want no beef.
You want no beef? You don't want no beef? You don't want no beef?
That was a thing. And now we have Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, so going into this film, like I said, I was very excited, but when it was first announced, I was actually kind of against the idea of the movie even being made. I mean, this was before they said it was going to be like a solo standalone film that wasn't attached to the DCU, that didn't have, Joaquin Phoenix. I thought it was just going to be a Jared Leto movie, and when that was announced, I was like, okay, I don't care about this. As soon as I found out it was its own film that was going to be like a deep dive into this character, I was on board. And yeah, after seeing this film, guys, this is my favorite film of this year so far. This movie was just absolutely incredible. Joaquin Phoenix is mesmerizing in this movie. He is absolutely fantastic. This is probably his best performance that I have seen. He was just great in this movie. He portrays this character so well, and this is a very different version of the Joker. Like I said, this is a solo film. It's not attached to like this, trilogy or franchise or anything like that. It's its own movie that's just about this character. You don't have Batman in the film, so it's just solely focusing on how this man with a mental disorder named Arthur Fleck is beaten down by society and turns into someone as crazy, insane, and chaotic as the Joker. It was a very interesting character study that many people are going to be comparing to Taxi Driver, because there are a lot of comparisons to be made. This film certainly borrows a lot of ideas and things like that from some of Martin Scorsese's films, but this movie, like I said, it was just absolutely fantastic. I loved pretty much every second of it. So I'll start off with the pros first. First of all, Todd Phillips did a great job directing this movie. That was kind of the one thing that, after the trailers, after all that hype was already built up in me, I was still a little bit worried about, was the director, because Todd Phillips has never made a serious film like this before. When you look at his his list of films he's directed before, it's films like the Hangover trilogy, which aren't exactly serious character studies. So I was a little bit, nervous about that, just because he really hasn't made a film like this before, but he did a fantastic job here. I mean, I think he handled everything in this very, very well. Another thing that stood out was the cinematography. This is a really, really well shot film. There was so many great shot compositions in this movie. Every shot was just well done, in my opinion. I thought it was a very nice looking movie. The color grading was fantastic. It had a really nice look to it. So I think everything from a technical standpoint was just done masterfully in this film. The score, well, it may not be something I'm going to listen to a lot or necessarily memorize. It accompanied what was going on in the film so well. This is a very dark and disturbing movie. It's a very serious film, and there's been a lot of controversy surrounding it recently, which I'm not going to talk about that much in this video, but I will kind of bring it up again later on. And this film, like I said, it's dark and disturbing, and the score really accompanies what's going on in the film. It gives you even more of that feeling of kind of fear almost, and it makes you feel a little bit weird in the theater, because what's happening is really messed up, and a big point of that has to do with the fact that Joaquin Phoenix is just giving us such a good performance. It doesn't feel like some person's just acting this out. You think this guy's genuinely insane. Like, he is just incredible in this movie. His performance truly just blew my mind. I honestly think he should win Best Actor out of all the performances I've seen so far this year. He is definitely my favorite. He also probably has my favorite Joker laugh. They did something interesting in this film where, he gets in these situations where whenever something is a little bit weird or nervous for him, he just laughs uncontrollably. He can't help it. And that was an aspect that was really interesting with his character. He's just laughing when he doesn't even mean to. And his laugh just, it kind of contained pain in it. You can just feel all these different things in his laugh. This is a person who's just beaten down by society and whatnot, and I just thought it was a very interesting way of showing us this character, because he wasn't dropped into a vat of chemicals. There's nothing like that in this movie. This is a completely different interpretation of the character and how he was turned into somebody like this. So I really liked that. I thought that was handled very, very well, and overall The performances in this movie from pretty much everyone were fantastic. I even thought Robert De Niro was very good in this movie. I mean, he's a great director, but I don't think he's done anything necessarily incredible in the last few years. And he's not a huge character in this movie, but he's still really good in this film. I still thought he was a really great part of the film overall. But yeah, definitely the main thing in this movie that's going to stand out to everyone is going to be Joaquin Phoenix's performance. And for me, like I said, that's what I'm really taking away from this film. Another thing they handled really well in this movie was the humor, and I know that might be something that's a red flag to people right off the bat, but this is not a very comedic movie. There is some dark humor in this movie, but it was used very sparingly and very, very well. This was not like, a lot of other comic book movies where there'll be a serious moment and they just have to throw in a joke there just to make people laugh, I guess. It's not like that. They used the humor perfectly in this movie. They used it when it should have been used. When there's a serious moment that needs to be serious, the humor was nowhere to be found. But when there's moments where you could possibly use it, they go for it, and it works all the time, in my opinion. I thought this film had a really nice sense of dark humor, and it made me laugh. I thought it handled that aspect very, very well. And like I said, it wasn't used, a lot. It was used sparingly, and I like that. I admire that they didn't just try to shove in as much comedy as they could, because that would have taken away from this film personally, being that it's such a dark and serious character study. But yeah, overall, this movie is just very disturbing. I mean, there is a lot of controversy surrounding this film right now, which I think is a little bit stupid personally. I don't know if it's the fact that it's just a person with a mental disorder that's kind of like this criminal that's causing all these things in this movie that's the big deal. Because if it's just the violence, I mean, to be honest, this film was, yes, violent, but there wasn't that much, killing or anything in this movie. It really wasn't, it's not like every single scene where he's the Joker is him killing people. It's not. Something like John Wick is like 2 hours of just pure eyeball stabbing and shooting heads and that kind of stuff. So why isn't that getting talked about? Why is it this movie in particular? I don't know. Maybe, like I said, it's because it's about like this person with a mental disorder or something. I don't know. I think it's kind of stupid. And I've noticed that the Rotten Tomatoes score has dropped like a lot. It's at like a 69 right now, which I think is pretty stupid, honestly. I don't know what the reasoning is. If I had to make a guess, I have a feeling it's probably something to do with the fact that the critics are, a little bit afraid to say that a film like this is really good. I mean, maybe they don't think it's good. If they don't, that's fine. But it just seems a little bit weird how all of a sudden all these negative reviews are coming out saying this movie's too dark or too brutal or anything like that, because it's an R-rated film. I mean, it's a character study. It's about a person who becomes this crazy maniac, this person whose whole ideology is based off of chaos. So what do you really expect to get? I mean, films like Taxi Driver don't get bashed on, even though that's basically like the same thing. But yeah, anyways. So yeah, those are all my pros for this movie. Everything in this film was great. If I had any cons, which I really don't, honestly, there is one thing, though, that I feel like might kind of take away from the film for other people, but it didn't take away from the movie for me, and that is the fact that it does definitely borrow a lot of things from some of Scorsese's previous work. There's a lot of Taxi Driver in this movie, there's a lot of King of Comedy in this movie, and some people might find that a bit jarring, that it feels like it's unoriginal or that it's borrowing so many concepts and ideas from those movies. Honestly, not a big deal to me because, like I said, this still felt like its own movie because it was about the Joker, and I think they did a really good job at tying this in to the Batman character. They weren't shoving in a ton of oh, this is a Batman reference, this is a Batman reference. There was just a very minimal amount of it that was used really well. So overall, guys, loved this film. I think it is the best film of the year so far, and it's probably going to end up staying that way for me, honestly. I don't really see anything topping it for me. It was just a masterpiece. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts on Joker. If you guys have seen the movie, let me know what you think of it down below. But yeah, fantastic film, and yeah, I don't really know what else to say. This was really an experience that I don't get much at the movies. I see a lot of films that I have a ton of fun with, but to have a film like this, which is just a really great character study that's super dark and has a lot of layer to it with its characters, it's nice. It's a nice change of pace for once. And yeah, I'm hoping we get more movies like this in the future. So there you go, guys. I'll see you all next time.